Japan, a key U.S. ally, has made a bold move, freezing its trade relationship with the United States under current terms. Just days before a U.S.-China truce, Japan's new Prime Minister, Sonai Takaichi, met with President Trump in Tokyo to announce a Golden Age alliance. But this new era doesn't mean lower tariffs. Japan has locked in the existing 15% U.S. tariff on Japanese goods, with no plans to renegotiate. Instead of fighting tariffs, Japan is pivoting, accepting the trade landscape, and focusing on massive investment in the U.S. The centerpiece, a $550 billion Japanese investment fund for American jobs and infrastructure. This is not a trade war, nor a surrender, it's a strategic shift. For Americans, prices on Japanese goods like cars and electronics will stay high. For Japanese companies, the tariff is now a cost of doing business, but the investment fund signals a new kind of partnership, one built on financial strength, not tariff reductions. Prime Minister Takaichi's gestures, like nominating Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize and gifting cherry trees, reinforce this friendly but firm approach. Japan is showing the world there's more than one way to navigate Trump-era tariffs. While others retaliate, Japan is betting on economic integration through direct investment. This move freezes the trade conflict and shifts focus to long-term partnership. The world is watching as Japan redefines what it means to be a U.S. ally. To understand Japan's decision, look back at President Trump's signature policy tariffs. Trump's administration imposed import taxes on goods from China, Japan, Canada, and Europe, aiming to protect U.S. industries and pressure others to lower barriers. This marked a sharp break from decades of free trade policy. The result? Higher costs for businesses and consumers, especially in industries like autos and energy. Tariffs sparked global retaliation, leading to trade wars, most notably with China. Supply chains were disrupted, and uncertainty soared. Now, in late 2025, the effectiveness of tariffs is under debate, even in the U.S. The Senate has moved to end some tariffs, and the Supreme Court is reviewing their legality. Amid this legal and political turmoil, countries like Japan and China are making their own strategic moves. The world's trade landscape is being fundamentally reshaped. The U.S.-Japan Golden Age alliance is built on a $550 billion Japanese investment fund, directly targeting the American economy. This isn't a loan, it's a commitment to fund U.S. infrastructure, technology, and manufacturing. A major focus, rare earth minerals and strategic resources, secured through a new critical minerals framework. By investing together, the U.S. and Japan aim to reduce dependence on other countries for vital materials. Notably, the 15% U.S. tariff on Japanese goods remains. No reductions, no renegotiations. Japanese companies must absorb or pass on these costs, but now have a new way to access the U.S. market, investing locally. For Americans, this means more jobs and new factories. For Japan, a deeper economic foothold. The deal transforms the relationship from cross-border trade to integrated investment. It's a pragmatic response to tariffs. Accept them and build something bigger. This is the new model for global economic partnerships. Japan and China have taken sharply different paths in response to U.S. tariffs. Days after Japan's Golden Age alliance, the U.S. and China agreed to a one-year trade truce at the APEC summit. The U.S.-China deal involves mutual tariff concessions and Chinese purchases of U.S. goods, but it's temporary and up for annual review. Japan, by contrast, has accepted the 15% tariff as permanent and is investing $550 billion in the U.S. economy. Japan's approach is long-term stability, predictability, and deep integration. China's is transactional, short-term relief, but ongoing uncertainty. The U.S.-China truce leaves most tariffs in place and underlying issues unresolved. For businesses, Japan's deal offers a clear path. China's truce means another year of waiting. Japan is betting on lasting partnership, while China is buying time. These two models, long-term investment versus short-term truce, highlight the new complexity of global trade. The world is watching which approach will prove more resilient. Japan's strategy signals confidence and commitment. China's signals caution and calculation. Both are responses to the same challenge, but with very different visions for the future. The U.S. now sits at the center of two very different alliances, The outcome will shape global commerce for years to come. U.S. trade policies are forcing countries worldwide to adapt, each in their own way. Canada, once a close ally, now faces new tariffs and suspended talks after a political spat. Even apologies haven't reopened negotiations, showing how quickly alliances can shift. Meanwhile, Southeast Asian nations like Malaysia, Cambodia, and Thailand have secured deals by banning digital services taxes, pleasing U.S. tech giants. South Korea has also reached a new trade framework. The result? A fragmented global system, with bilateral deals replacing old multilateral rules. Businesses now face a patchwork of regulations, one set for Japan, another for China, another for Canada. The World Trade Organization's influence is waning as the U.S. writes its own rules. Diplomacy is now directly tied to economic stability and market access. The global trade map is being redrawn, one deal at a time. These trade deals aren't just about tariffs, they're about control over the future technology and critical resources. The US-Japan alliance targets rare earth minerals and microchips, aiming to reduce dependence on China. Japan's investment will help develop new sources for these vital materials. China, in its truce, agreed to defer export controls on key minerals, but only temporarily. The battle over microchips is fierce. China ends investigations into U.S. chip firms, but the U.S. keeps its most advanced AI chips off limits. This is a deliberate U.S. strategy: share some tech, but guard the cutting edge. The tech and auto industries are at the heart of this contest, with supply chains and innovation on the line. For consumers, this means prices and availability of gadgets and green tech will be shaped by these deals. The competition for tech dominance is now a central front in global trade. The stakes: who leads the next era of industry. The past week's events mark a turning point in global trade. The era of broad, multilateral agreements is fading. Strategic, bilateral alliances are rising. Trade is now intertwined with national security, technology, and geopolitics. The U.S.-Japan partnership and U.S.-China truce show two sides of America's new approach. Tariffs may keep prices high, but foreign investment could create new jobs and industries. For businesses, the landscape is more complex than ever, navigating shifting rules and political risks. International institutions like the WTO are losing ground as nations write their own rules. The world is fragmenting into competing blocs, each with its own trade playbook. Uncertainty is the new normal. The US-China truce is temporary, and legal challenges to tariffs loom. Old assumptions about free trade are being tested. The future will be shaped by strategic negotiations balancing economic and security interests. Will this new model bring stability and prosperity, or deepen global divisions? The world is watching and adapting to a new era of managed trade.